be there.
Pep Guardiola's Man City eyeing its third title in 7 years, fifth overall, but definitely one eye on Tuesday in the Champions League, and that's reflected in the starting 11 today. As for Manchester United, they've lost 8 of the last 13 derbies, and Jose Mourinho will just hate to hand City the title today at the Etihad. Therefore, an attacking 11 today. Hello and welcome back to a very, very big day in the Premier League. James Sharman here, back with Craig Forrest and Danny Dichio. Let's head now back to the Etihad, where there's a title-winning atmosphere, I'm sure. Here's Peter Drury and Jim Beglin.
Well, James, good afternoon to you from Manchester, where, of course, the scenario, in a sense, is gloriously simple. Manchester City win the game, Manchester City win the league. But there is also, Jim Beglin, fascinating complexity about it. The subplots around this two-legged affair with Liverpool in the Champions League and so on. The Manchester City team has been talked about more than any selection I can remember for quite a while. What do you make of it? No De Bruyne, no Aguero or Jesus, two changed fullbacks. Are they taking liberties or are they getting this right?
Well, it's a while since Pep has won the Champions League, so I'm not surprised that he's kind of prioritising that to a certain extent. I still think it's quite a strong Manchester City side. I think if they get back playing the way they can, they're capable of beating Manchester United and securing the title. We've heard all sorts of rumours about who was going to be in, who was going to be out today, but it's the strongest bench I've seen in a while as well, by the way. But no, I would equally see this as an opportunity for Manchester United to come here and not just kind of pick up a draw and stop them winning the title just yet, but to come here and win. I think they've got a better opportunity of doing that.
If I'm a Manchester City fan, I'm thinking this is a chance in a lifetime to win the title against the rivals. It's fallen so kindly, and I might look at that team and think, Pep, do you get what we feel?
Pep doesn't care, Peter, and you know what he's like. I mean, he's obsessive with regard to details, so I'm sure he's thought long and hard about it. They're going to need an awful lot of energy, I think, to overcome Liverpool and the 3-0 deficit in the Champions League. So I think he's aware of the fans and their feelings, and I think, unlike the Liverpool fans who weren't really bothered about the Everton game today, the Manchester City fans are. They think this is once in a lifetime. They want to do it, and they really want to rub Manchester United's noses in it, but Pep's got to think beyond all that.
And so I appreciate I'm asking you to guess here. You can't possibly know the answer to this question, but do you think this team was picked before last week's game or as a reaction to a 3-0 deficit in the Champions League?
I think it's a reaction to the 3-0 deficit in the Champions League. I think that has played a big part in that. Pep is trying to do it all. He's a perfectionist. He obsesses about things, and he feels he can get the victory today and indeed overturn things in midweek.
So put yourself in the head of a Manchester United player coming here then. How incentivised do you feel?
Hugely. I said it before. I indicated that if you're facing a Manchester City team that's still strong but not what it could be, then it should generate that little bit more, and I hope Mourinho frees his team up a little bit and doesn't come here and park the bus.
That's your hope. What is your expectation? Can United feel about themselves? Listen, why don't we have a go at what Liverpool did?
Listen, I would love to see an open attacking game, but I have a feeling this might be something like what we saw in Merseyside not so long ago, and I wouldn't be surprised to get another 0-0.
Well, we'll see. In which case the story will roll on, but of course if City win it, a couple of hours from now we will have our champions, James, crowned.
Well, it was a very, very rough week for Man City in the Champions League. Liverpool were outstanding in the first half an hour. They're up 3-0, which might reflect upon City's starting 11 today. Obviously, it was quite the story midweek, and it sets up a compelling match coming up this Tuesday in the Champions League. Now, in the table right now, forget that, because there's 16 points between Man City and Manchester United. City could clinch with the most games in hand ever in the top flight if they can win today. If they don't win today, they'll probably win next week or the week after. It's been that kind of season, though, for Man City. brings us now to the big question. How big is the divide between Man City and Man United? So far, you all think it's probably closer than 16 points. 59% of you, probably your United fans, believe that. 41% saying it's still astronomical. City is set for world domination. It's going to be some match today. Some great players, obviously, on the field. Some great players off the field today. No De Bruyne, no Jesus, no Aguero, and no Walker. As Peter Drury asked Jim Beglin, is that a response to what happened on Wednesday?
Yeah, and I agree with Jim Beglin. I think it's a response. I'm sure Pep is tempted to field a bit of a stronger lineup. There's also the fact that he has 100% trust in his squad, which is an excellent squad. And the other thing, Danny, you look at who's brought in: Sterling, Danilo, Delph, Bernardo Silva. This is still a pretty good lineup, and one that they'll still expect to win.
A very, very good lineup. And I just feel with Pep, I don't think it's so much of a reaction to that result midweek. I still believe that Pep thinks they have a chance midweek, and he definitely has an eye on that midweek game against Liverpool. And I actually feel that this puts more pressure now on Jose Mourinho to go out and say, all right, we have to try and approach this game maybe a little bit differently now and have a go at them. See what Liverpool done to them midweek. And I still feel that a lot of teams run scared to Manchester City. I think their approach to games were a little bit naive. I think they showed them too much respect. And the only team that has really had a go at City this year have got results, and that was Liverpool in the league and in the Champions League. They really got in their faces. They play very similar. They play high up the field, connected, leave themselves a little bit susceptible at the back for counter-attacks. But it shows you what you can do against Man City if you don't show them respect, if you push up high against them. And I just feel, as I said, there's more pressure on Jose. I feel that Jose is still going to be stubborn, though, as he is. He will not change his tactical approach, and they'll see how the game kind of settles in after the first 10, 15 minutes. But they have the player quality to really have a go at City.
I mean, it's strange because you're right. You see Liverpool press and attack and beat them twice. We also saw Wigan, of course, sit back with 10 men behind the ball and get a result in the FA Cup.
They got lucky, though, as well.
Sure.
Wigan. It was a fantastic result for Wigan, I must agree. But the player clientele of Wigan compared to what Manchester United have, they shouldn't have the same approach.
Well, let's hope for an open affair today. Looking at this team under Pep Guardiola in the Premier League, it's not bad, is it? 50 wins, and he's not even finished his second season thus far. 12 draws, the 7 losses. Welcome to England, Pep Guardiola. You found your feet in the first season, but boy, it's been something pretty special this year. Here he is, Pep Guardiola.
Pep, when you made your team selection, did you feel between a rock and a hard place today?
I think every manager in every game has this problem. Whatever you do, if works, you are a genius. It doesn't work, what you have done. So, but I understand completely today. So the fans want to win the Premier League, and we won the Premier League. But we have Liverpool. We had and next Tuesday, and of course all the season play a lot of players, not just 11, and that's why I'm so happy to say some players playing against Liverpool, and now a lot of players playing against United.
So how did you make the choices that you have done? 4 changes from the other night.
Well, thinking about the tire of the players, thinking about the opponent, thinking about what we have to do, and depends how they defend, how they attack. That was our idea.
And there will be options for Pep Guardiola on the bench, Craig. What's it worth? You did some math.
It's worth at least $1 billion. I mean, it's incredible. Bravo, Walker, Aguero, Laporte, De Bruyne, Jesus, Yaya Toure. He's worth a couple bag of chips at this point, but we don't even count Yaya Toure at his age, right? But in his prime, obviously. But that's a $1 billion bench.
It does seem, though, the opponents United today are playing a more attacking side now. Listen, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. It's Jose Mourinho. He's got real form in sitting back and killing off games. But what's the motivation for him to attack today? Is it purely from seeing what Liverpool did, or is it about, fronting up and showing
He was
yourself?
actually asked yesterday in the press conference about That, exactly. Now watching Liverpool do it twice, is this the way to play Man City? He didn't want any part of that conversation. Didn't want to answer the question. So it's an interesting one for sure. I think that the lineup with Sanchez in it and the likes of Lukaku who can score goals when you set him up, he's doing well. 15 goals in the Premier League, really not a bad return with 28, 29 goals in all competitions as well. If he was put into a Pep side and with the opportunities, he probably would have more goals as well, I believe, Danny. But the approach, I think, from Pep, or sorry, from Jose, really for Man U fans, is that it is his approach to the game, and it's not the Manchester United that we saw under Alex Ferguson with so much attacking weapons that really got at teams and scared the living bejesus out of you when you ever played against them. Not this United
And I
side.
agree with it, because I really do not see a massive difference in player quality between the two teams. You match certain positions up and they're very equal. It's just the difference in the head coaches from both teams' approach to certain games, whether they're playing at home or away. United at home this year have been very lackluster, very laboured in their approach against lesser teams in the Premier League, where they should be going at them, getting at their throats very, very quickly and kind of stating their ground and saying, we're going to win this game, like the United of old. They have the player qualities there.
And it's not even like they won't be successful in the future playing this way. We're just very used to Jose's teams being successful playing defensive football first. He gets results, he wins trophies, but is that good enough to play that way as a United coach?
Well, second place should be United's. Obviously, Spurs are on the rampage right now as well. But looking at the end of the season for United, obviously Spurs, that's the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. But West Brom, Bournemouth, Arsenal could be interesting. Brighton, West Ham, Watford. They should be results and 3 points for United. They should finish second place. Let's hear now from the man in charge, Jose Mourinho.
Jose, you said it's your aim to finish second, so how great is the incentive now that after today's results you could go 4 points ahead of Liverpool and we'll have a game in hand?
Yeah, in this moment we have 1 point more than them and two matches in hand. But Tottenham is also in the same race as we are to finish second, and we know that it's going to be difficult. But of course, if today we get 3 points or 1 point, would be important for us.
You've said you want to win the game. What's the approach going to be?
It's always the same approach. When the opponent has the ball, we have to try not to concede, and we have to try to defend as a unit and with discipline, and don't forgetting the great qualities the opponent has. When we have the ball, we have to try to be aggressive. Normally, we know that Manchester City is a team that has a lot the ball, and is their culture. Even sometimes not trying to hurt, but just by having possession to have complete control of the game. So we know clearly that. But when we have the ball, we have to try to be aggressive.
Well, not that we need more narratives for this one, but when we come back, some interesting comments by Pep Guardiola this past week regarding Jose Mourinho's £89 million man, Paul Pogba. Don't go anywhere.